Welcome to the Sonoma County Library's book repair video series. This is the second part of the video series we started on tipping in pages. So you learned how to tip in a page that was not damaged, a page that was damaged, and in several different ways. So we're going to continue on with attaching. In this case, I'm going to show you how to do what's called a book plate. And as you may or may not know, book plates fall out a lot because they are rarely bound into a book. They are simply glued in. The publisher decides to glue them in, and so you have a biography, there's a bunch of pictures in it, and one of them has come loose. So we're going to show you how to do that because it's a different technique because the paper is heavier and it's coated. So we're going to need a variety of things. We have rubber bands, we have brushes, we've got swabs, your bone folder, water, clean water, then you've got water for your brushes, your glue, mending sticks, knitting needles, an array of tools, scissors, X-Acto knife, spatulas in flat edge spatulas of all different types, tweezers. You're going to need a ruler, you're going to need Japanese repair tissue, you're going to need mending sheets. So I'm going to introduce you today to a few more tools. And because where we are at now is things are getting complicated. You're going to need to know your parts of a book. A lot of these gluing techniques cross over depending upon where it is. So as I go along, we're going to explain it. So it's nice to have one of these small little cutting mats. They're great for when you're working with this. As you learned in simple gluing, I had wanted to show you what craft is. Craft is a type of thin paper that's used. It's usually fairly slick, and it's used to, when you see this inside the spine of a book, this is what it looks like. The other thing I'm going to introduce you today is, now that we're going to be doing a lot of gluing, these are what I'm going to refer to, rather than using the waxed mending sheets. This is old wrapping paper for Christmas, and they make great for being able to use this to apply, and then you just toss. And then I think that's all I'm going to introduce you to today. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to teach you now how to tip in a loose book plate. And what a book plate is it usually has a photograph in a biography, or it's an illustration, maybe in a kid's book. So with book plates, they're very rarely sewn or bound into the text block. Publishers use some type of an adhesive to affix them to the spine. So you'll see a lot of times, especially biographies, that they'll come loose, and oftentimes in sections, but we're going to show you how to tip in a loose plate. So what you're going to want to do is have something that you can put glue on. So we're going to cut a piece of Japanese repair tissue. And we're going to want to go a little bit over the length of the book plate. So I want a straight edge. So I'm going to go ahead and use this piece here. And I'm going to take my ruler. And we want about a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and first make my mark. And just gonna tear because again, we want it to affix to the book nicely. So I'm going to measure this out now and see, I think it's a little more than a 1/4 of an inch. It's a full inch. So I'm going to cut it in half now. Okay, so again, remember to separate it. Don't just tear down the strip. You want to separate it from the sides. What I want to do is place half of it on my spine edge. So I'm going to just kind of line it up and see where we're going to go. Okay, great. So I've got my strip ready to go. So we're going to put glue, a thin layer of glue across our spine edge, and we're going to do it and make sure we do it on the verso side of the page. So this is the recto, this is the verso. So, but I have to make sure that I have the spine edge. So there we go. And I'm going to, if you can see, I don't want to get my head in the way. So I'm going to just expose 1/4 of the inch. Okay, so you want to have your strip at the ready. And I've got some glue here. And I mean a thin layer, you don't need much. We're just gonna brush it along the edge. One last go over. I'm gonna remove my thing. I'm gonna lay my strip down so that 1/4 inch is showing. I'm going to move my piece back over, and I'm going to take my bone folder and just gently seal the deal. Then you're going to wait a ½ hour for it to dry. Okay, once your page has finished drying, takes about ½ hour or less, we're going to trim off the sides. And I always like to trim going up this way. So we should have 1/4 of an inch exposed. Okay, so we're going to be tipping in the page this way. So what we want to do now at this point is we want to fold our over the edge of the page. So we're going to fold our tissue strip over the page, and we're going to take our bone folder and we're going to crease it really good. So once we have it creased nice and good, we're now going to put glue on that portion of the strip. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to put a piece of paper in here, and I am going to put a layer of glue on here. Okay. And again, doesn't have to be much. You just need some to attach it. Make sure I peel it off of here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, working this way, I want to get this feathered, I'm going to insert it like we did, if you can see that. a little bit above the gutter, and I'm going to slide it into place. So once it's lined up with the edge, we're going to put a mending sheet on the verso side. But before we do that, we're going to want to smooth down, place our mending sheet. I don't know if you were able to see that. And then place your weight on it. Give your spine a good rub and place your weight. While we're waiting for this to dry, a little explanation. So the difference between tipping in a loose plate and tipping in a page that has a straight edge is that paper is the same as the other paper in the book, and so you can just simply tip it in with the straight edge. With a book plate is coated paper, far heavier than the other pages in the book, so it needs to swing freely from the spine in the gutter there. That's why we add that little strip on so that it can swing freely. And when we open this up, we'll show you what we mean by that. So it should be dry, so let's take a look. So if we had just tipped it in, it would not have swung freely. Now it's attached. As you can see, it's attached here to this other page. If you had tipped it in, it would be too heavy and it would just fall out. So this is how you tip in a book plate.